वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभयच्छ कृपासिन्धुमेव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते। हरे नाम हरे नाम केवलम कलो नास्त्यैव नास्त्यैव गतिरन्यथा। श्रीकृष्णाय
वासुदेवाय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः।
all together please.
श्रीकृष्णाय वासुदेवाय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः।
हरे बोलो श्री कृष्ण भगवान की जय। The last few sessions that we gathered together, we discussed which are the basic rules of life, and we are talking about the question of being self-dedicated. We talked about duty, what the self-dedication means. So if you were to listen to this katha and you were to see it on YouTube, the title will be Self-Dedicated Individual. And as such, today we want to talk about this self-dedicated individual and what are the parameters that they live within. We discussed briefly that the duty without attachment, the object is secondary to the action, action is independent of others' action. And last week, we talked about what causes attachment. And we identified that desires causes attachment, wants causes attachment, dislikes causes attachment. Amazingly, when you dislike somebody, it's an attachment, because you become attached to them through hate or dislike. When you like someone, it becomes an attachment. So the dislike or to like creates attachment. Now today we want to talk about and continue to talk about this attachment factor and what are the benefits of attachment and maybe the negative sides of being attached. Now all of us, we've been children at some time, but most of us have children now or are seeing children. When a child gets a new toy, now the child may have many toys, but the new one is the one that they want. And they become very, very attached to it. You can't take it away from them. At night you have to appeal to them to give it up before they go to bed. As soon as they wake up, all they're thinking about, I want that toy, I want that toy. And then the same child, a couple of months goes by, and a new toy comes on the marketplace. And suddenly, it's a new toy, and the one that was really so very, very important has no value. And you tell the child, no, I don't want to buy, you don't want to buy the new toy because it's more money. And you say, no, I don't like this one. I want that one. Now that's a child. And it's accepted that the child will be manchanchal, back and forth. But in the reality of the world, all of us continue to maintain this quote-unquote child attitude as we progress in life when it comes to attachment. And it is odd that we never stop to think about it, that in our attachment to things, we act in a childish way. Attachment will ultimately lead to detachment. the child will ultimately give up the toy. Now, some children carry their little blanket with them and the little teddy bear with them all into marriage life. And then they find out that their spouse says, I'm sorry, this blanket and this teddy bear can't get between the two of us. You have to detach yourself from this blanket and teddy bear. But ultimately, there leads to detachment. And the more, maybe, realistic mode, in human relationship, none of us are here forever. There will be a point of detachment. No child will stay at home forever, although some of them are trying to. There will be an ultimate detachment. Nothing that we have will last forever. The nicest car you buy, you love it, it will not last forever. If you're playing cricket and you have your favorite cricket bat and it's the one that you made all the centuries with, it will break one day. As such, the reality is that nothing is forever. Nothing that you and I are in contact with, that is in this materialistic world, is forever. The only thing that is forever is that which is of the spiritualistic world. And that, Bhagavan Krishna says, Ishavasvanidam sarvam yatkincha jagatam jagat tena tyagtena bhunjita madhida kasya svidanam Sri Krishnaya Vasudevaya Govindaya Namo Namah. That is a quote from the Upanishads. Here the Divine Lord is declaring that Isha Vasavidam Sarvam, I am that God of all of these things, of the animate and the inanimate. But let it be known that everything that is in this world that I declare to you as the world, it has its allocation. It has a limitation of time, it has a limitation of quality, it has a limitation of existence, and it is considered temporary. So, to be attached to any of these things will be to be living on a fool's world or a dream world, because ultimately you have to become detached. Now let us understand that this is not an easy philosophy to accept when you're telling someone whose parent just died, whose close friend just died, whose spouse just passed away, whose child just passed away. You don't say to that person, I'm sorry, you have to detach. Because our human emotions does not permit us to do that. But our logical mind tells us, but when we are emotional, we are never logical, by the way. There is no logic in emotions. Emotions are emotions. As such, coming to the realization that attachment will ultimately lead to detachment, to accept that principle is one of the stepping stones towards self-realization. What is the most difficult step to self-realization? It does not happen overnight. Even those who spent their life in the mountains and the dark caves of the Himalayas, they themselves have difficulty coming to this conclusion. So you and I, who are karma yogis who live in the materialistic world, it is even more difficult to accept that detachment is ultimate. But all the facts around us says you have to detach, you have to detach, you have to detach. Interestingly enough, most of us accumulate wealth during our lives, and then we are told that it's wise to make a will, to detach ourselves from it before we go. That's the will is our detachment document. I will stop calling it a will from now on. It says, please prepare your detachment document, because you will have to detach. And if we are wise, we are very specific about how we detach. And we say, when we detach, we want to attach it to this person. So take my name off and put their name on. So every time we detach it, it becomes, we have to, if it's our, we have to attach it to someone. It becomes attached to someone. So materialism has a way of getting attached to everybody. So when we unburden our attachment, when we unburden or we become detached from our attachment, someone else becomes attached to our attachment. But if they are wise, they will say, no, 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 no. I'm not going to become attached to this attachment. I'm going to see it as something that exists, that I cannot be attached to. That is the most difficult thing to do in human existence. For the child who says, this is my toy, but mommy, no, I don't like this toy anymore. No, I love this toy. But 1 week later, when the child gets a new toy, it's easier to say. When a person is an alcoholic or a smoker, psychologist says in order to help them to detach from these tendencies, they have to have another attachment. So they become attached to something else, and then they become detached from this one. We need to have other attractions to break away from our old attractions. And then when detachment comes, if we are too attached, it leads to pain. When you take away the toy from the child and say, no, you got to stop playing with this toy, the child cries. And the child cries with great grief, like if you have killed them. You've hurt them so much, and all you've done was take the toy away, it's time for you to sleep. But they will cry with such bucket full of tears, and you'll be taken, but yes, painful. Some of us are of the same nature. As such, our subject today is about understanding. The question, my subject is not how to detach, but understanding the impact of being attached. Now if I ask you, how do you become attached to something? Someone says, the same way you got attached, the same way you can get detached. So if I ask, how do you become attached? That's a real challenging question. So how do you accept to find out you like to eat banana and ice and vanilla ice cream, which they call banana split? How did you know? How do you discover that you want to become attached to this thing? You can't avoid, oh, I gotta have my banana split. How did that happen? I just liked it, we say. Yes, Natraj.
Typical example I can give Tim Hortons.
Tim Hortons.
Wherever we see, we have to do.
Natraj is being honest. He says, whenever we see, we got to go. Tim Hortons, we are going, and we don't know why, but we are going. So we become attached, and then one day, if Tim Hortons was to increase its price to $10, suddenly, we will have to drive by and say, hold on a minute, this is too expensive attachment. I can't. No, I will not, instead of drinking 4 cups a day, I will only do 1. I haven't detached yet, I've just kind of sized down the attachment. But I have not sized down the attachment, I've sized down the intake, but the attachment is still there. The attachment is still there. So it's an interesting thought to ponder. I want to leave everyone today with a thought. And in our lives, look at what we are attached to and what's the impact of the attachment. One thing that the great writer says, more baggage, more difficult the journey. Lighter baggage, easier the journey. Attachment is a baggage. If you want to climb up, I'm told of this story about there are certain bus routes in India whereby that people have to climb to the top of the bus, so they get up to get a ride. And if the bus is passing the villages and the stops, and then you have 10 bags to get up there, bus, nobody's helping you, you get up with your own bags. So the story is, if you want to get on the bus fast and get the ride, bring less bags. You get up, you get a good seat. But if you go on these airplanes, you ever notice when people have these 3-4 bags and they're standing the aisle, blocking everybody's passage and trying to get their bag to stick it in the top there, and the bag is too tight, they're pushing it, and everybody's standing and, will you get up the way, please? So not only when you have too much baggage, you're creating problems for others with your baggage. So to be attached and to have excess baggage sometimes impact all those around you. And we never stop to think it's maybe because of our baggage that we're having the problems that we're having. The excess baggage. But if you look at the journey when the traveler who's going on this yatra, this trip, and they say, look, some people are going on a trip and you see they go to the airport and you see, where are you going? Oh, I'm going away for 4 days. 4 days, you have 4 suitcases. One for each day, eh? Yeah. One for Monday, like a tablet box. One for Monday, one for Tuesday, one for Thursday. And then when they're coming back, they have 5. Because they brought some extra stuff, right? So the customs officer will look and says, you have nothing to declare? No. How long you've been away? 4 days. You have nothing to declare. And you have 5 suitcases, right? Let me check you. So you get pulled over to the side and you get checked. And you say, why are they singling me out? Look at everybody else. But he says, you seems to have something to check because it's kind of odd that you should have 5 suitcases when you only went away 4 days. So sometimes in our lives, when we have all of these baggages, we are treated different by people. And we always say, why am I being treated different by people? It is because I have the baggage that is very obvious to others and I am not seeing that this baggage is a problem. Sri Krishnaya Vasudevaya Govindaya Namo Namah Bolo Sri Krishnaya Vasudevaya Govindaya Namo Namah. Bhagavan Krishna in chapter 3, speaking to Arjuna, explains Sri Krishnaya Vasudevaya
Govindaya Namo Namah.
Sadrisham chastate sarvasya prakriter janavanapi prakritim yanti bhutani nigrahatim karishyati. Sri Krishnaya Vasudevaya Govindaya Namo Namah. So this thing called baggage, even a wise person behaves in conformity with his or her own, what they call nature. Now, how many of us like to collect things? Oh, don't get rid, save it, I'll eat it another day. Oh no, put that away, I'll carry it. And then you find you have this stock house of things that one day you will use, but you haven't used. Anybody have that problem? Good. Okay. So, it's our nature. We just want to. We like to. Well, I will leave you one. Like my wife has a problem with me going to Canadian Tire because I always get caught in their sale. I'm always bringing up something that I need that I'll never use. I know it'll come in handy. Put it and then it's there. But the good thing is somebody else uses it sometime. We are driven by our nature. And as such, we carry baggages without wanting to carry them sometimes. We take on challenges or we take on what we call worries. We worry about things that we shouldn't worry about. I know the greatest pain in our lives when we worry about things that we shouldn't worry about, that's excess baggage with double load that you have to pay overweight on. Because first of all, whomsoever you've taken on the baggage for doesn't even know you've taken on the baggage. And secondly, you are in your mind confirming that you have baggage and you're maybe making judgment about this baggage. And it's all your problem. And the whole world looks dark to you at that time because you've taken on baggage unnecessarily. Now if you have to take on baggage like Arjun's baggage was the Kauravas. He said, listen, I've got to get rid of these people. But even when he took on that challenge that I have to get rid of them, he's saying, I don't know if it's a good thing to get rid of them. So the entire dialogue is in between him and in his mind, should I or should I not? And Bhagavan Krishna is telling, listen, the only way we can get rid of this baggage is to get rid of them. But in the time you keep debating back and forth, get it clear in your mind, either kill them or just forget them. Which one do you want to do? In reality, we don't have to kill someone, we have to kill the thought in our minds. And to kill the thought is we have to stop thinking. We must not become victims of the baggage. This is, by the way, the worst attachment you can have is when you have guilt in your mind, or when you have doubt in your mind, or when you have accusations in your mind of others. Therein lies double-packed baggage. because you can't unload it to someone else. You can't write it in your will. I will these things to someone else. I will my animosity to someone else. I will my dislike to someone else. I will my doubt to someone else. They say, I don't want it. I've got enough of mine. Can you give anybody your doubt? Can you give anybody your animosity? Can you give anybody your distrust? Can you give anybody your lack of confidence? These things belong only to you. You must discard them. You cannot will them to anyone. Your money you can will. Your property you can will. Your book you can will. But what you have in your mind, you will only to the self. Sri Krishnaya Vasudevaya Govindaya Namo Namah. Let us examine this statement once more to see the other side of the statement. I said attachment will ultimately lead to detachment. And then I said detachment will lead to pain. But if your attachment was doubt, if your attachment was animosity, if your attachment was accusation, when you detach from them, what happens? No pain. It brings relief. It brings, wow, so good that I said or I got it off my chest, as we say. So, in detachment, pain is not always there. There is relief, but you must understand that the kind of attachment that will bring pain from detachment, and all of us are victims of the attachment, that where the attachment is the pain and the detachment is relief. Now there's the attachment when the attachment is joy and the detachment is pain. Let me repeat. It is said, the attachment is joy, the detachment is pain, and then the attachment is pain and the detachment is joy. So much there? It is said, like doing a wrong thing in life tastes like honey in the beginning and tastes like poison in the end. Doing a right thing in life is like poison in the beginning, but it becomes honey in the end. Sri Krishnaya Vasudevaya Govindaya Namo Namah. Sri Krishnaya Vasudevaya Govindaya Namo Namah. In verse 34, chapter 3 of this Srimad Bhagavad Gita, the Divine Lord makes a statement about attachment and aversion. Indriyasya viperagadvesha bhavastita tayornavasam agachyate tave asya paripantino. Sri Krishnaya Vasudevaya Govindaya Namo Namah. Attachment and aversion of the senses for the respective objects are natural. Attachment and aversion, likes and dislikes, but the things of our senses are natural. I like that, I don't like that. It's a natural thing. I don't like it. You like it, I don't like it. It's natural. It's our human nature. We always have to have discrimination. It's very rare that we say, oh, I don't have an opinion. You know when you have votes, it says, okay, all those in favor say aye. All those against, no. All those who abstain, they have a third voter. That means I'm not saying no or I'm not saying yes. In life, this abstention is really the key towards staying detached. But it's a very fine line that you have to be careful that you're not a fence sitter. That you're just waiting to see what the other person to do so you can do it. No. Be self-dedicated. Make decisions on your own, but don't be caught up in the ayes and the nay. Well, everybody said yes, I should say yes. Everybody said no, I should say no. Right? No. Decide for yourself. And if you feel you don't need to say no or yes, then do exactly that. Abstain. But most of us live in a world, let me hear what they will say. Usually when I have an opinion, when you have a group of people and says, I want an opinion, the first opinion is given and all the other opinions follow the first opinion. And some people say, well, I exactly what they said. And then I usually force them, I said, and I want to hear you say it yourself. And when they do, it's totally different from what the other person said. So we become victims, we become attached in this form that, no. Bhagavan Krishna is saying that we have a tendency to become a victim of the objects that we are attached or we are having a relationship with. And that tendency is driven by our nature. The nature whether we like to agree with the popular crowd, or we like to agree with the unpopular crowd, or we like to just don't agree with anybody. But then there's a fourth, when we have to be ourselves and really state what we are and what we feel. And sometimes to state what we are and what we feel is not the right thing to do. Sometimes to state what we are and what we feel is not the right thing to do. Now someone said, Panditji, we live in a world of free speech. Everybody should be able to say what they want. Having the privilege to say something or to do something doesn't mean it's the right thing to say or to do. Having the privilege to say or to do something doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. Every child at a certain age in their life have the privilege by law to leave home. Just in case you didn't know, students. But is it the right thing to do? But the law says you can do that. That is just an example. So having a privilege and a right to do something doesn't mean it's the correct thing to do. Sri Krishnaya Vasudevaya Govindaya Namo Nama Bolo. Sri Krishnaya Vasudevaya Govindaya Namo Nama. Now I want to add one more line here. This slide. And it's good to do it while we're live. So, while we are alive, while we are live online. What is the line? Relief. How do you spell that again?
L-I-I.
Wow. Is that right? Thank you all very much. So let's review. Attachment will ultimately lead to detachment. There's nothing that we can be attachment permanently. Agreed, everybody? Anybody disagree with this? All those in favor say aye. All those who's not in favor say nay. All those who abstain, put your hands up. So I guess we have what is called a unanimous decision that is all in the aye. Now, detachment will lead to pain. Do we vote on this? Okay, all those in favor say aye. All those who think it's not true say no. Any abstention? This is democracy at work, by the way, okay? Now, detachment could lead to relief. Do we agree with this one? Clap your hands. Because see, that's the one I want to leave you with today. The detachment will lead to relief. Parents, I do not want you to get rid of your children, please. That might bring lots of relief. But we can't do that. It'll bring financial relief. Definitely we get rid of them. Because some of them are major consumers. Right? And they're not contributors. But you can't do that. Your moral commitments forces you to know that you have to keep them. But do not, yes. Could also, detachment could lead to relief also. I think could, or not all, well, maybe also will lead to, could, very correct English grammar. Give him a big hand, please. It's amazing what you learn when you come to Mandir. Now you all realize that we are moving into a new dimension of presenting our philosophy now, right? The age of technology, where the congregation gives the feedback and then we agree on the message. So today, this is not my message, it's our message. Praise Shri Krishna Bhagavan ki